Hello there guys, it's me Unstable Voltage and welcome to Hand of Fate. I originally did a video on this game about a year ago now when it was just about to come out of early access, and I did play quite a lot of it in my free time. I never managed to complete it though because first of all they hadn't even added the final encounter when I was playing it, and I got sidetracked with other things as I often do. Since then, they've added quite a lot of free DLC and additional content, as well as one piece of paid DLC, which is still quite a reasonable price. So I figured that I'd use this to do a weekend series and go through and try and get it completed. So I've reset my progress. I'm going to start again from scratch. If any of you aren't familiar with Hand of Fate, it's a little bit of a difficult game to describe and sum up. I would say that it is a procedurally generated RPG dungeon crawler based around a semi-customizable card deck. So it sounds a little bit strange, but I actually really like it. Now, most of the game takes place on a tabletop with a deck of cards. Some of the game is presented in a third-person sort of action RPG style almost, and when you're actually at the tabletop, you're playing against someone called the Dealer, and he's got some really good dialogue. He's very well voice acted. So even though I talk a lot, I'm going to try not to talk over the Dealer if I can help it. Now, try and explain the mechanics of the game as I go along, but if I'm in mid-sentence and I suddenly stop, it's because the Dealer's talking and I really don't want to talk over him. So without further ado, let's go and get Hand of Fate started. One small disclaimer, especially for these first sort of maybe 2 or 4 videos. I've been to the dentist today and I am still suffering from a local anaesthetic, so if I sound a little bit sort of slurred and some of my words sound stranger than usual, that is because half of my face is numb. So, here we go.
One more for the game. Come, sit. You have passed the 13 gates, and you come to my table to play the game of life and death. Your stake is wagered. I refuse none who come here, yet I say, turn back.
So, let's make a start.
The game begins. One lives and one dies. Let us see what you are made of.
So, we are going to be doing the sort of tutorial level, just so I can explain the mechanics, and let's get straight onto that.
Here is the first member of my court, the Jack of Dust. 12 in all must fall before you may challenge me.
So basically these guys, whenever you start a new dungeon, this is basically the boss that you will fight at the end, and as the Dealer says, you have to defeat 12 of them. It's like a deck of cards really, as in you have the Jack, the Queen and King and 4 different suits, and I think there's an extra one as well on the end of each, but there's 12 bosses in total, and then you go on to face the Dealer himself. So there are an assortment of different card types in each deck. Some of them come from my own deck, and some come from the Dealer.
Let the cards fall where they may. We begin.
So this is the actual layout of the dungeon, and what we have to do, we're represented by this little gold token here, and we have to get to the end of each dungeon. You can see I have some health, I have some food, and I have some gold, as well as having...
You can always review your cards here.
As well as having an inventory. So my inventory starts and I just have a very basic weapon. I have a rusty axe and I have some very basic armor. I have light armor. Now gold is used to purchase things, as you might imagine. Food is actually used to move from room to room within the dungeon. Every time you move, it consumes 1 food. If you run out of food, then every time you move, it starts to consume health. And once you get down to 0 health, you die. You can also lose health in the actual third-person fighting portion of the game. Providing you've actually got food, as you move from room to room, you will regain a small portion of health. Now luckily this dungeon is quite linear because it's just the sort of the first one, the training one, so let's move to the first card. Mr. Lionel.
I was never a fan of illusion or pretense. Here, I'll make an exception.
So, as you can see, we've consumed one food because we moved from one card to another. This is the card we get to play. Whilst enjoying your evening meal at a local tavern, a strange old man takes the seat next to yours. He taps your shoulder quite painfully with his wooden staff to get your attention, and you notice that he appears to be a goblin, poorly disguised as a human. His wizened face grins at you with a hint of madness. My name is Mr. Lionel. If you give me what I need, boy, I will conjure up your heart's desire with this wizardly wand of my own creation. Now we got a choice here. He cackles uncontrollably for a few moments, then sits patiently waiting for your answer. I can either give him bread from my plate, which will end up with me giving him some food. I could give him 20 gold, which I currently don't have. I could ignore him, or ask him what he needs. Let's go and ask him what he needs. He says he needs to help us. Mr. Lionel taps his staff on the ground and a shield materialises at your feet. There you go, old bean. He smiles a warm grin that reveals all his chipped and yellow teeth. Your face reminds me of my son. I haven't met you before, have I? Draw one shield card. Now, pretty much you nearly always get Mr. Lionel in every single game, and he pretty much always gives you the shield. So, Mr. Lionel is a good way to get a free shield early on in the game, and I think that's the reason why he has that I haven't met you before, have I? Because you'll see Mr. Lionel quite a lot, but now we have a shield. And that gives us the ability to reflect projectile attacks. And it also gives us the ability to counter-attack as well. Now, the reason when we got the shield, you actually saw it draw from the deck, is it drew from our equipment deck. If we had more different shield types in that deck, we could have actually got a better shield. But the basic one will do for now.
You can now reflect your opponent's ranged attacks using your shield. Make good use of this skill if you wish to survive.
So that shield should be auto-equipped, and there it is. So we have the ability to press Q to reflect projectiles, and we can counter as well. On to the next card.
Fair Mareth. I'm not surprised to find that this encounter remains vivid in your memories.
Again, we've consumed another food because we've moved from one card to another. One day in a shady forest you encounter an elf maiden. She stops to greet you. I am Mareth of the Forest Folk. My people have long helped the mortals of this realm. What boon would you ask of me? So I could ask for gold, I could ask for supplies, or I could ask for a longer life. Now this is probably going to be a relatively short game, so I don't think we need supplies. Let's go and ask for a longer life. As you wish, Mareth mutters and waves her hand. A light shines from your skin. The dealer draws you one max health gain card. So the amount of maximum health gain that we get will be random. Currently our maximum health is 100, so let's see what we get. So he shuffles through the deck until he finds a gain card. And we gain 5.
A little extra health, but it is only a momentary respite.
So he's shuffled through the deck until he's found a max health card, and it's given us 5 max health. So that'll put us up to 105. And it actually puts our total health up by the same amount as well. It is said that sharp-eyed adventurers may protect themselves from the worst of Lady Luck's contrary nature. Farewell, mortal. And again, let's go on to the next card.
That first moment, that glinting weapon, the call to action, to adventure. Truly, there is nothing like it.
You see a weapon glinting in the sunlight, lying next to a skeleton at the bottom of a canyon. The walls of the canyon are covered in thick vines, perfect for climbing. Now we have an option, we can leave it or we can try and climb down and retrieve it. Now leaving it means nothing happens, we just get to pass on to the next card. But if we try and retrieve it, we will have some sort of encounter to deal with. 1 failure, 3 success.
Choose from these options.
We got a success. Climb down to retrieve the weapon. Very carefully you make your way down to the bottom of the canyon. Now that one had 3 successes and 1 failure. Some of them will have only 1 success and 3 failures. You can also have huge successes and huge failures as well. So it really depends on the difficulty of the encounter. But we were successful. And we now get to draw 1 weapon card from whatever is in the deck here. And we get an axe. Now this does 25 damage. Our rusty axe only does 20, so we are going to want to equip it because it is better than our default axe.
A moment to savor. That will make you much more effective.
And then on to the next card.
Bound once more, seeking the heart of it all.
So these dungeons can have multiple levels. The trail of cards you see on the table isn't the entire dungeon. You do get to sort of go onto different levels. So we're going to go up or down the stairs. I assume it's down. I think he just said it was. On we go. So we have the option to either turn back. Now the reason you have the option to turn back is some dungeons actually have multiple paths that you could take. And maybe you find the end of the exit to the dungeon level, but you want to go on and uncover some of the other cards. Bear in mind, you would have to backtrack and that would use additional food. But there's nowhere else for us to go, so we're going to take the stairs. You embark upon the next leg of your adventure.
You're on the final floor of our simple map. Your opponent waits here for you. Find him.
So again,
if you defeat me, well, it is early to be talking about victories and losses. Let us see what you're made of.
Okay, now he's finished. So we've got this sort of linear progression on the table again, so let's just work our way along. Dead Man's Gorge.
I'm sure it's not called Dead Man's Gorge without reason.
While crossing the ancient rope bridges of Dead Man's Gorge, you hear sounds of movement from below. It's an ambush. Draw one monster card. So it's a 2 of dust, which means we will be fighting 2 enemies of the dust type. So they're like sort of raiders almost. So this is loading us into the sort of third-person action sequence now. Now this part of the game is a little bit simplistic and basic. It does get more difficult as time goes on, though.
You can now counter your opponent's attacks. Hit the counter button when you see the flashing indicator.
But it is relatively straightforward. So we hit the counter button when we see that green thing. It's a little bit sort of like Arkham style combat, but a lot more simplistic. We're only dealing with 2 enemies here, so it was very, very easy to take both of them out. Bear in mind, of course, this is a training level. So we've defeated those enemies. So you recover what you can from the dead. The dealer draws you 3 game cards.
I'm sure you're grateful for that.
So one allows us to draw a piece of equipment. We don't know what that equipment is yet.
A small aid to navigation, but still.
Not necessarily that useful on the training level here. It reveals the stair encounter upon entering a level and grants a gold bonus for revealing every encounter on the level. So it's very, very useful if you reveal all the cards because you get some extra gold, but it instantly shows you where the end of a level is when you enter it. Completely useless to us now. We gain 3 food. And we gain 20 gold. On to the next card. Travelling Mage. Now you can see this card has this little sort of ribbon banner up in the top right hand corner. That means that that is one of the dealer's cards that's in the deck. Now it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad card. You have good and bad cards in your own deck, and the dealer has good and bad cards in his deck. It's just as the game progresses on, more and more cards get added to the deck to make the levels more and more random. So this is one of the dealer's spike cards. This is basically a store. There are different types of stores. The Mage, well, let's go and have a look. We can actually visit the store. So in a shady grove off a beaten trail, you find a travelling merchant looking to trade with wandering adventurers. We get the option to approach the shop or pass it by. Mages sell only specific items that they've discovered in faraway lands. Their prices can be high, but they also pay well for anything that catches their interest. So let's go and have a look into the shop. Greetings, wise traveller, I have much to offer you. And the game will load into the sort of third person...
If you were wondering why you've been collecting all that gold, you now have your answer. We're starting to get into the meat of the game now. The back and forth between resources and rewards.
So we have the option to buy food. We don't need any, we've got plenty. We're only a couple of moves away from the end of the level. We could also sell items if we wanted. We don't really have much that we'd want to sell. We could sell the Explorer's Helmet because that isn't all that useful to us. It's only worth 10, so there pretty much isn't any point in doing that. And we also have the option to buy items. We haven't got enough gold to buy any of these. We can actually go around and reveal all of the items.
Creation, forged of alchemical processes, but given permanent shape. I know of nothing like it.
Now, all of the items that are actually available to buy from the mages are items that are in the current deck. You can only ever acquire items that are in the deck. Everything that exists within each playthrough is a card that's either in your deck or the dealer's deck. Well, we can't afford any of these, so we're just going to be backing straight out of the store. I just wanted to go in and show you what the store looked like. You can also backtrack and go back to a store later on, of course, costing you more food to backtrack. So let's go on to the next card. Looks like another ambush.
What did you think would happen with a card called Ambush, eh?
This is why I do love the dealer. He is funny. A slight rustling behind you is all the warning you need that your life is in grave danger. Draw one monster card. Well, at least it's only one monster card. So 3 of dust this time, though. So we're going to be fighting the same type of enemies, except this time we're going to be fighting 3 of them. We get all of our equipment, including our helmet. I don't think it provides us with any armor. And you also see a little chest with gold. That's basically telling us that we will actually get a gold reward for completing the encounter. Most of these early encounters are actually quite simple. We can bash with our shield if we want to. We can actually right click to stun. Most of the time it's just easier just to keep hitting them. There we go. It's all 3 of them dead, nice and easy. Some very interesting poses they end up in when you finish them off. So there's an actual extra little bit to this card. While searching the area for anything worth salvaging, you realise that one of your opponents is only pretending to be dead. We can either sneak up and kill them, or we can flee. Well, we don't just want to flee, let's carry on and try and sneak up and kill them. And again we have a chance of failure. So we'll keep our eye on that card. Well, we know that top card's not the failure one, so... A quick weapon blow to the head fixes that. You finish searching the area, the dealer draws you 3 gain cards. You see, if we'd have just fled, we wouldn't have got those 3 gain cards, but at the same time, there wouldn't have been any chance of failure. And failure can be a negative effect card that might make us lose gold, it might make us lose food, we might lose health, it might give us some sort of debuff. So there is definitely a downside to doing it, but we were successful. So we get another piece of equipment. Now this time it's not necessarily a weapons card. Sorry, it's not necessarily an armor card. It could be a weapon. It could be a utility item.
I cannot expect you to get by without some protection.
Now it's just another shield. Looks like a very basic one. It's the same as the one we already have, so we don't want to replace it.
Really? Is that what you're going to do?
5 more food, which we don't really need. And 15 gold. And then it's on to the final encounter.
You have reached my first champion. A good man driven to madness by a war that took all from him. Wife and child, kith and kin. From such dark and brittle iron I forge my tools. Now we see your metal.
Now some cards you will see have these little golden icons on them at the bottom, and this represents a token. Whenever you defeat one of these cards, whether it's an encounter or whether it's some kind of sort of puzzle card, a challenge card, an encounter card, if you beat the encounter you will get given the token, which will give you a copy of the card if you complete the dungeon, that allows you to then use that when you customize your deck. And you can't really customize your deck on this first dungeon, on the sort of tutorial one, but on the later ones that you can. So the bandit leader is stronger and faster than most bandits encountered. He can become enraged, making powerful, unblockable attacks. He also inspires his followers to steal gold with each hit. Won't be fighting him on his own.
This token will unlock more cards if you can defeat this encounter.
There we go. There's actually 3 different tokens up for grabs here, if we can complete this. But we won't be fighting him on his own. He'll have some friends. At least he usually does. Yep, there we go. 4 of dust. So he's actually going to have 4 friends with him on this particular go. We are at full health, though, which is very good. So here's Jack of Dust. He's our boss. Now, it might be better to try and get rid of his 4 buddies first.
Some enemy attacks cannot be blocked or countered. Get out of the way or stop them with your own counterattack.
Oh, I took a hit there. Now, when you see him turning red like that, that means it's an unblockable attack. The green ones are blocked. The green ones can be blocked or countered, so that's not a problem. But if we see him turning red, then we need to just dodge out of the way and not let him hit us. I believe, though, you can still knock him down, as I did there. So even though his attacks are... Oh, let's dodge. I tried to dodge there and missed. I screwed up badly. We are almost at the end of the level, though, so it doesn't really make a lot of difference. Got plenty of health right now. I thought I actually got out of the way of that one. Apparently I did not. He's on his own now, so we should be able to finish him off. Let's dodge, because we can't block that. Oh, tried to dodge again and I missed. We are losing money here, but there we go, he's dead. Managed to finish him off.
Down into the worms with him. Perhaps there is peace for him in the grave, poor soul. One champion has been sent to the cabinet. Yet we are only at the start of our road. You will face 11 more opponents who will test your strength, your memories, and your resolve. Few fall at the first hurdle. None reach the last. We have wagered, and you have won. You may claim your rewards, yet I will also claim mine. As you improve, so do I. Balance must be retained.
So that's just the game's way of saying it's going to get harder as things go on. So we've got these tokens, let's activate them. So as a reward for defeating Bandit Jack, you receive these new cards. So we've got 6 cards here. Jack of Skulls, so it's another boss. The Dead King's Hall, which is an encounter. Local Peasant, which is an encounter. Devil's Choice, another encounter. The River, which is another encounter. And Captain of the Guards. Now, you'll also see that some of these cards have this little locked icon at the top here. And what that means is these cards will go into your deck. And even though you can customize the deck, you cannot remove the locked cards until these encounters have been defeated. So we've got a second token here. This is a reward for defeating Bandit Jack. Again, we've got some new cards. These are all equipment cards. So we've got Medium Armor, Chains of Rage, Mercenary Contract, which is a... I can't remember what they call this, but it's like a sort of an auxiliary item that you can use. Medium Armor again. Fortune's Breath, which is a shield. And Desperate Measures, which is a mace. And one final token. And again, this is for defeating Bandit Jack. It's a new challenge. And this is the Bandit Attack. And again, that's a locked one, so it goes into the deck.
Shall we deal again?
And that is it. That is the first mission or the first dungeon completed. So when we come back next time, we will have a go at the second one. It's going to get a little bit harder and hopefully a little bit more interesting. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video of Hand of Fate. I'll see you on the next one. And until then, goodbye for now.